A soldier found his daughter sleeping in an abandoned garage at 3 a.m. What happened next is shocking. The night was an eerie blanket, smothering the world in thick shadows. A chill swept through the deserted streets of Hillcrest, wrapping around buildings like a ghost's cold fingers. Every creak of the wind felt charged, echoing the unease that hung heavy in the air. As the clock struck 3, a figure emerged, a soldier, weathered and worn, just returned from a war that never seemed to end. Eyes full of worry, he marched towards an old garage, the paint peeling off like forgotten memories. Something didn't sit right, a gut feeling gnawed at him. His heart raced in a strange rhythm, pounding loud enough to drown out the quiet of the night. The garage door, half ajar, creaked like a warning as he pushed it open. His instincts screamed at him. And there she was, his daughter. Sweet, innocent Claire, curled up like a fragile flower in a petalless world, sleeping on the cold concrete floor. Just like that, his heart dropped, a tight knot in his throat. Why was she here? How could she, of all places, end up in this defunct relic of a building? He moved closer, shadows licking at his feet. Suddenly, he noticed a strange glowing light, pulsating softly from her backpack. It flickered like a heartbeat, casting distorted shapes on her angelic face. Panic clawed at his insides. This wasn't just an ordinary backpack, there was something otherworldly about it. Could it be a trick of the mind, or was there really something sinister lurking in the heart of that seemingly harmless object? He shook her gently. Claire, wake up. Silence. She didn't stir. His voice cracked. The fear he had faced on the battlefield paled compared to the raw dread pooling in his chest. This was real, this was personal. Who could possibly bring his daughter here? And why? Were there hidden dangers beyond the garage's rusted walls? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as his grip tightened around her shoulder, a loud crash erupted from the back of the garage, sending chills racing up his spine. He spun around, adrenaline surging through his veins. Was someone else here? Or was it something else? The air crackled with tension, and the shadows faded into deeper darkness. Desperate to protect her, he shielded Claire with his body. Heart pounding, he peered into the murky corners of the garage. What secrets did this haunted place hold? What had drawn his little girl into this treacherous night? The questions echoed in his mind, amplified by the lurking dread. As the night wore on, the shadows seemed to whisper, and the glowing light from her backpack flickered more violently, as if trying to convey a message neither of them could understand. There was more to this night than met the eye, a mysterious link between the garage and their lives that was just beginning to unfold. And as the wind howled outside, a new threat loomed on the horizon, a mystery that would change everything. The crash reverberated through the garage, cutting through the murk like a knife. With anguish clawing at his side, the soldier squinted into the dimness. He felt Claire's breath on his arm, fragile and serene, disconnected from the chaos that surrounded them. But he couldn't lose focus. Not now. Who's there? He called out, his voice trembling despite his efforts to sound authoritative. The air remained still, heavy with foreboding. A distant sound, a low growl, guttural and menacing, rose from the shadows at the back. It crawled beneath his skin, snapping him to attention like a wake-up call of primal fear. With Claire still protectively cradled in his arms, he crept forward, shoes crunching over old debris, his instincts in overdrive. The pulsating glow from her backpack illuminated the path ahead, casting wavering shadows that morphed into grotesque shapes. Sweat dotted his forehead as he moved, weary but unwavering. What had grabbed hold of his daughter? As he neared the source of the crash, he peered into the depths of the garage, where a something or someone began to materialize from the darkness. A figure, silhouetted and monstrous, shifted slightly, the shadows cascading around it like a cloak. The growl intensified, echoing off the walls, and in that eerie moment, he saw the glint of metal, a sharpened blade clutched in a tight fist. "Get away from her!" The soldier barked, adrenaline pushing his voice to a fierceness that shook him. In that breath-holding instant, time fractured. The figure froze, the glimmer of the blade catching the light, but it wasn't just an intruder. The contours transformed, revealing not a stranger, but a face twisted in fear and longing. "Dad?" The whisper was barely audible, cut through the air like a feather. His heart raced. It was Claire's older brother, Jake. The soldier felt a complex whirlwind of relief and rage spiral within him. "What are you doing here?" he shouted, slamming thoughts of surprise down deep. But the anger was swallowed by worry as he saw the blood dripping from Jake's side, staining the dirt beneath him. Before Jake could respond, an unearthly screech echoed from the back of the garage, louder this time, rattling the windows. Instantly, the atmosphere began to shift. It felt charged, as if the air itself was trembling with energy. The glowing from Claire's backpack intensified, bathing everything in a blinding light. "Dad! You've got to help us." Jake struggled to speak, his face contorted in pain. Help? What did that even mean? The world around them was spinning out of control, darkness creeping closer. Whatever had drawn Claire here had ensnared Jake too, and there was no telling how deep this nightmare went. With a rush of determination, fueled by the flashes of his memories from the battlefield, the soldier turned his focus on the glowing backpack. "This!" he yelled, urgency ringing in his voice. "This is the key." But before he could grasp what it could mean, the walls of the garage began to shake, something crashing against them from outside, a presence, relentless and voracious. A sense of impending doom weighed heavily on his chest, each heartbeat in vivid syncopation with the chaos around him. Then, through a haze of fear, he realized, there was no escape, only unanswered questions. What lived beyond those walls? What force had his children caught in its deadly grip? As the sound grew deafening, the world around him twisted into a whirlpool of uncertainty. Would they survive this night, or was it just the beginning of an endless nightmare? The glow from Claire's backpack reached a peak, illuminating the garage in white-hot brilliance. It was a beacon, but also an attraction. What was being pulled toward them? Suddenly, just as the light dimmed, an echo of dark laughter reverberated through the air. An unseen presence loomed larger, ready to strike. What awaited them in the shadows? And even more pressing, what if they couldn't escape? The night was far from over, and the truth was lurking just beyond reach. The luminous deluge surged and flickered, engulfing the garage in blinding light. The soldier shielded his eyes as he struggled to maintain his grip on Claire. The laughter grew louder, the kind that sent icy needles of dread shivering down his spine. "Get ready!" he shouted, his voice raw, instinctively drawing Claire closer. Jake staggered, blood oozing from his wound. Every second felt like an eternity when he turned to his son. "We need to move, Jake. Now!" The shrill screech erupted again, rattling the very core of the garage. Something was pushing against the walls, something that wanted inside. The glowing backpack flickered ominously, seemingly sensing the danger that lurked beyond the thin walls. The soldier pushed Jake toward a shadowy corner. "Stay low," he hissed. The scene before him turned chaotic, shadows morphed into flashes of light, dancing provocatively, instead of revealing clarity. He grasped for control over his racing heart, a lifetime of training battling against the parental fear consuming him. Jake gripped his arm, eyes wide, fear etched onto his pale face. "Dad, the thing, it's after us." The soldier had no way of assuring him. He was as uncertain as Jake. The growling subsided momentarily, giving birth to an unsettling silence that drowned out their breaths. He could sense it, the weight of something sinister filling the air. A cool breeze stirred around them, and then the wall opposite exploded inward, sending bricks flying like shots in a war zone. He instinctively shielded Claire as debris rained down around them. The soldier's instincts kicked in. He yanked Jake away from the exposed area just as tendrils of darkness slithered through the jagged opening. "What the hell is that?" he grunted, pushing back adrenaline that threatened to send him into a fight-or-flight response. The thing was indescribable, a mass of shadow and fury, claw-like appendages reaching for the soldier and his children. It surged forward with an unnatural speed, the malevolence palpable. "Run!" The command burst from his lips as he shoved Jake ahead, fear spurring him on. They darted toward the rear exit. The glow from Claire's backpack flared again, illuminating what looked like symbols etched into the walls of the garage, messages in a language he couldn't comprehend. Could it be a warning? Heart racing, a primal instinct took over. He could no longer process their circumstances. They had to escape even if it felt as if the very fabric of reality was collapsing around them. The shadows howled, pursuing them while the soldier's mind raced through a desperate inventory of choices. Stay together. He glanced at Jake, who struggled under the weight of his own fear and injury. Claire's small frame seemed oblivious, nestled perfectly against him, radiating an innocent trust that felt like a punch to his gut. They reached the exit, only to find it blocked by remnants of the previous chaos. No. No. Panic clawed at his chest as he pushed against the debris. He felt the darkness closing in behind them, an icy breath whispering promises of torment. The struggle seemed to drag on forever until finally, with a surge of adrenaline, he cleared the last of the rubble. The alley outside appeared brighter, but filled with an uneasy feel. He thrust Jake ahead, shoving Claire into his arms. Go. Now. But as they stepped into the moonlight, a chilling laugh enveloped them, lingering in the air like a curse. The force that had pursued them dragged a heavy cloak of dread behind it, as if announcing its arrival. In the distance, the shadows shifted, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness, watching with unseen eyes, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. What more awaited them out there? And what had the darkness promised in exchange for their lives? This was only the beginning. The night did not seem willing to relinquish them so easily. The soldier's heart pounded like a war drum as they stumbled into the alley. He could feel the chilling eyes of the dark figure piercing through him, as if it had the power to rip apart his very soul. A twinge of bile rose in his throat. He desperately tried to shake the panic that clawed at him. Where do we go? Jake's voice trembled, barely a whisper now. Find cover. He looked at the jagged edges of the alley. There were old crates and discarded barrels that could serve as a shield. The moonlight glinted off something metallic in the distance, a rusty old car that hadn't seen life in years. There. Let us make it there. Without waiting for an answer, he dashed, dragging Jake and Claire with him. Each step stirred the debris at their feet, the crunch echoing like gunfire in the still of night. Behind them, the sinister laughter shattered the silence again, deeper, mocking them as it reverberated off the walls. It promised pain any moment they lingered in its realm, felt like gambling with their lives. As they reached the car, the soldier dove behind it, instinctively shielding his children with his body. The air was thick with tension, heavy with dread. He peered cautiously over the hood, his heart racing. The figure was there, lurking just beyond the edge of the shadows, like a predator toying with its prey. Where is it? Jake gasped. The boy clutched his arm, staring wide-eyed at his father, desperately seeking reassurance. Stay quiet, kid. The soldier's voice was strained. He focused on the figure, waiting for it to move, to show its intentions. The darkness rippled as if it was alive, inching closer. He could feel its malevolence wrapping around him like a snake ready to strike. A flash of light caught his eye. The symbols from the garage flickered in his mind, the mystery clinging to them like barbed wire. What do you want? He thought, anger mixing with fear. Claire peered around him, her innocent eyes unhurried in the chaos. It made his heart ache to look at her. In a way, she resembled a glimmer of hope amidst their nightmare. Dad, she whispered, is the bad man going to get us? No, baby, he lied. Not while I'm here. But a guttural sound twisted through the air, confirming there was no promise he could give her that could ensure their safety right now. The figure advanced, moving with an unnatural grace, drifting through the shadows like a wraith. "Run!" he shouted, his primal instincts kicking in, urgent and fierce. The soldier gripped Jake's arm, dragging him backward while trying to scoop Claire into his other arm. But the shadows moved faster, thrusting a chilling wind that threw them off their balance. Suddenly, the symbols on the ground flashed again, illuminating a pulse of light that burst forth, momentarily illuminating the alley. The soldier felt an unfamiliar sensation, as if the shadows recoiled, hesitating for a brief moment. "Jake! Touch the light!" he yelled, sensing it was their chance. Jake, taking a breath, bolted forward, reluctantly releasing his father's grip. With Claire held tightly, the soldier sprinted towards the pulse, the darkness hot on their heels, eager to reclaim its prey. As they reached the source of light, it engulfed them, the powerful radiance surrounding them like a protective bubble. But just as quickly, the laughter rose to a deafening crescendo, echoing along the alley walls. Suddenly, the light flickered, barely holding the shadows at bay. "It's not strong enough," the soldier shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Where's the source?" Jake cried, eyes darting. The shadows twitched, weaving between them as if contemplating their next move, and in that moment, a realization struck him, heavy and dark. The backpack. Claire's backpack, its glow. "Dad!" Claire whimpered, sensing the urgency. Without hesitation, he relinquished her from his grasp. "Stay close." He lunged towards the backpack, heart racing with both fear and resolve. He could feel the darkness caving in, a suffocating weight that promised despair. Could the glow from the backpack hold the key to their escape? There was no time to think. He reached for the pack just as a tendril wrapped around Jake's ankle, pulling him into the swirling void of shadows. "Jake!" A heart-wrenching scream echoed back as the darkness consumed him, leaving a gaping wound in the soldier's heart that would never heal. In that moment, the shadows grinned, their laughter reverberating through the night, beckoning him into the abyss. Would he reach the backpack in time to save the rest of his family? Or had he already lost everything? He lunged for the backpack, fingers brushing against the worn fabric, his heart pounding like a thunderous drum. Every instinct screamed for him to grab it, to wrench it from the clutches of the darkness that had just pulled Jake away. "Claire!" he shouted, not daring to look back, desperate, frantic. He could feel the weight of eyes boring into him, the shadows creeping in like a vile mist, hungry and insatiable. With trembling hands, he yanked the backpack closer. The moment he touched the glowing emblem stitched on the front, a surge of power coursed through him, unlike anything he had ever felt. "Dad! What's happening?" Claire's voice trembled beside him, wide eyes fixed on the backpack. "Hold on!" he yelled, his voice cracking with urgency. As he opened the flap, muted whispers filled the air, swirling around him like a storm. It felt as if the backpack itself was alive, mirroring the chaos they were engulfed in. The symbols that had once been incomprehensible now pulsed with a rhythm, almost begging to be understood. He felt an icy thrill run through him, his instincts urging to trust it. "Together. We can do this." He gripped the backpack tighter and turned to her. But before she could respond, the shadows surged forward, tendrils snaking around her legs, dragging Claire toward the abyss at the edge of the light. "Claire!" He lunged forward, using the last remnants of the light to overpower the looming darkness. "You want to take her." His voice boomed as he concentrated on the backpack, feeling the energy within it swell. In that split second, the symbols flared bright, illuminating the alley in an almost blinding glow. Shadows recoiled as the light forced them back, creating a barrier of hope between him and the nightmare. "Stay where you are," he commanded, his tone fierce, protective. With both hands gripping the straps, he yanked the backpack free, and the glow intensified like a supernova. The laughter that had consumed them fell silent, and he could hear only his ragged breaths now, punctuating the tense stillness. Then everything changed, the backpack cracked open, and a rush of energy poured out like spilling a bucket of bright paint across a canvas. The light expanded, enveloping Claire completely, making her shine like a star against the dimness closing in. "Dad!" Claire's voice pierced the air, filled with a desperate mix of fear and hope. "Hold on." He felt a pulse, an energy he could ride. He pulled her back, feeling the tether between them strong, grounding him against the chaos. As the shadows writhed, caught between the light and the void, he pulled Claire towards him, their fingers clasping tightly. The darkness screamed, a sound that reverberated deep within them, desperate to reclaim what had escaped. "Run!" With a sudden surge of adrenaline, he darted forward, dragging Claire with him into the light. The shadows lashed out, snatching at their heels, but they were faster, propelled by the light, the backpack illuminating their path. Yet, just as they reached the alley's end, another impossible twist unfolded. A figure emerged from the shadows ahead, a silhouette with familiar, haunting eyes. Jake, the word escaped his lips, fragile and broken, as hope shattered in his chest. The figure stepped into the light, and the soldier's heart froze not with relief, but with a chilling recognition. "Dad?" A voice echoed through the void, a voice that should have belonged to Jake, yet felt distorted, tainted by the darkness that surrounded it. Had he returned, or was this but a cruel trick? "Jake!" The soldier shouted, but a gnawing dread settled deep within him. Could he really trust what stood before him? Or was this another trap laid by the very shadows he fought to escape? The realization hung heavy in the air, casting uncertainty into what should have been a moment of reunion. What danger lay waiting in the flickering shadows? "Jake!" He couldn't suppress the desperate plea, his voice wavering as the shadows pulsed around them, eager to swallow him whole. Claire, still holding onto the backpack, looked up at him, confusion etched across her face, and at that moment, he realized they were caught between worlds, the real and the unfathomable. "Stay back, Claire." He instinctively stepped in front of her. Each breath he took felt heavy with foreboding, as the figure emerged further into the light, the familiar features morphing into something unrecognizable. "Dad, it's me." The voice rang out, yet there was an odd echo, twisted and layered with something sinister. The eyes that he had once known bright with life now flickered with an unsettling darkness. "Jake, is that really you?" He took a tentative step forward, heart pounding wildly. The energy from the backpack pulsed in his grip, urging him to trust in the light, yet instinctively he felt the tight pull of dread. "Why did you leave us?" Jake's voice cracked, weaving through a mix of pain and anger. "I had to find you. They tried to take me, I thought I was dead." "Find us?" The words scraped against the soldier's throat. "You're right here. We thought you were gone, how can this be?" His mind raced, piecing together how someone could return from the dark. "Don't you see?" Jake advanced, his shadow stretching unnaturally, reaching toward them. "I came back for you. But you have to listen, it's not safe." His voice rose, revealing a fracture in the facade, like glass cracking under pressure. "Get away from him!" Claire shouted, gripping the backpack tighter. The symbols glowed fiercely now, streams of pure energy brushing against the heels of darkness, fighting to illuminate the truth. "No!" The Jake before them hissed, morphing. The layers peeled back, revealing a grotesque fringe of darkness swirling around him. Tendrils snaked outward, threatening. "I need more time. I have to complete the task." Shivers traveled down the soldier's spine. This wasn't the son he remembered. The words dripped with confusion and despair. "What task?" "Protecting us." With a sudden lunge, Jake reached out, fingers extended, darkness coiling like a serpent ready to strike. "Join me. I promise I won't leave again." The diversion of trust and deception danced in the air, and the soldier felt the heat of betrayal wash over him. "No." He felt the raw urge of rage surge through him. "This isn't my son." It was a realization that sliced deep, cutting through the fragile hope he had clung to. Claire, emboldened by her dad's determination, stepped forward, swinging the backpack as if it were a shield. "You're not him. You're a monster." Her voice was sharp, piercing through the air. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of anguish and fury echoing in the alley. The figure faltered, chaos flickering around him. "Claire, no." Jake's voice warped, full of desperation now. "You don't understand. They'll come for you. Then we'll fight back." The soldier tightened his grip on the backpack, feeling the pulsing energy surge through him, igniting hope against despair. A tornado of shadows screamed in response, darkness swirling like a tempest as they clashed against the light. Instinct drove him, the need to protect his daughter and the truth of his son blurring in the electric tension. In that moment of standoff, the air thick with dread and anticipation, something shifted. An unseen force thrummed in the ground beneath them, a storm brewing, unlike anything they had faced before. "Run! Now!" The urgency rushed out of him, pushing Claire ahead as the shadows lunged forward with renewed ferocity. With a final glance back at Jake or whatever stood in his place, he felt the line between love and horror blur, leaving him gasping for clarity. As they raced toward the light, the darkness shrieked behind them, promising chaos to come. The weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future pressed down on them like an iron shroud. Were they truly escaping, or merely dancing to the shadows' insatiable rhythm? With every step, the truth unfurled a twisted web with realities hanging by a thread. They had to unravel it before the darkness claimed them both, no matter the cost. What awaited them just beyond the light? The truth, or another trap woven seamlessly into the fabric of the shadows? The shadows behind them howled, a deafening symphony of wrath and despair that chased them through the narrow alley. The soldier's heart raced as they navigated the maze of darkness, each step fueled by adrenaline and the fierce instinct to protect Claire. They stumbled into a clearing, moonlight spilling across the cracked pavement. It felt like a sanctuary, even as the darkness writhed just beyond its edges, seeking entrance. Heavy breaths filled the silent void, the soldier's chest tight with fear. "Are we safe?" Claire's voice trembled, her grip still firm on the glowing backpack. A shiver crawled up his spine. "For now. But we need to keep moving." He scanned the area, looking for any sign of a way out. Panic brushed against his mind. What if the shadows were lying in wait, reassessing their strategy? As they hurried forward, an eerie chill crawled along the ground, flickering like a candle's final dance. Around them, the darkness twisted, feeling alive, almost sentient. Every crackle of leaves or distant rustle felt like an ominous whisper aimed at them. "Dad?" Claire's eyes, wide as saucers, bore into him. "What is happening? What did Jake mean by they'll come for us?" A memory flickered, tenebrous and fearful, a warning that something had shifted in their world. "I don't know, Claire. But we have to stay together." The soldier's voice cracked, his mind racing to reconcile this truth. What could be worse than the shadows that sought them? Then, ahead, a flicker of light caught his eye. It was faint, barely breaking through the density of the night, yet it offered hope, an exit from this swirling chaos. "There. We must reach that light." With a newfound surge of determination, they sprinted towards the beacon. But just as they gained momentum, a deafening roar erupted from behind. The shadows lunged forward, tendrils snaking out like wild snakes, grabbing at the edges of their clothing, their bodies. "No! Hold on to me!" he yelled, feeling the panic rise around them. He twisted in Claire's direction, clamping onto her hand as forcefully as he could. "We won't let them take you. Keep running." The light drew closer, an insistent glow that promised safety. Yet the relentless shadows clawed at their heels, louder, angrier. "Dad, I can't." Claire gasped. "I know. Just trust me." Each breath they took brought forth the urgency of the moment. With every step, he felt Claire falter slightly. Suddenly, she stumbled, nearly pulling him down with her. "I can't keep going." There a violent wave of darkness rushed past him, coil after coil of shadow rising like a wall, blocking their escape. He could feel his heartbeat tremble as he maneuvered around them, desperate to keep his daughter beside him. "Claire! he shouted, feeling the shadows claw their way back, reaching. Then, just as hope began to slip away, she managed to lift the backpack, the symbols glowing with newfound intensity. It shot out a brilliant beam of light, splitting the shadows apart as it arched toward the darkness. Claire, now! With a final push, they dashed through the ensuing burst of light and emerged on the other side. Stumbling, panting in a new world, he dared to look back. The darkness remained on the edge, shrieking in dismay, but something shifted within the shadows. They began to pull back, swirling like a storm retreating before the dawn, yet underlying that mix of relief, a sense of dread settled in. What now? Where are we? Claire squeezed his hand tighter. Do you think the backpack really protects us? The soldier looked down at the glowing symbols. I hope so, because if it doesn't, this might be just the beginning. But behind them, echoes of laughter rang out. Those haunting voices of the shadows whispered in a perfect melody of sorrow and malice. What other horrors awaited them in this strange new realm? The shadows may have retreated, but the true battle was just beginning. The air felt heavier in this new world, thick with an unsettling stillness that pressed down on them like a weight. The soldier turned slowly, taking in their surroundings. The clearing opened into a derelict street, debris scattered like the memory of a storm. Flickering streetlights struggled to pierce the veil of a creeping fog, casting ghostly illusions that danced and twisted with every movement. Where are we? Claire whispered, her voice small against the encroaching doom. The soldier shook his head, unease gnawing at the pit of his stomach. Not truly safe, he muttered, eyeing the shadows that stretched like fingers towards them, eager to reclaim their territory. He dragged in a shaky breath, pushing back the fear swelling inside him. We need to keep moving, Claire. Stay close. Tightening her grip on the glowing backpack, Claire nodded. Together, they stepped cautiously forward. Each footfall echoed on the crumbling pavement, as if alerting unseen creatures to their presence. Ahead, a series of boarded-up storefronts loomed ominously. The shattered glass scattered on the ground caught the light from the backpack, glittering like tiny stars in a barren sky. They approached one of the stores, the wooden boards creaking under an invisible weight. Should we look inside? Claire's eyes flicked to the darkened window, uncertainty written across her face. Better than standing here, he replied, forcing calm into his voice, masking the trepidation that quaked within. He pushed against one of the slabs of wood, sending it splintering down to the ground. Darkness spilled out like a living thing, wrapping around them. Instinctively, the backpack shimmered brighter. They stepped inside, heartbeats synchronizing with the pulse of the glowing symbols. It was freezing, like stepping into a tomb. Shadows flitted just beyond their sight, seeming to shift and whisper. What if it's worse here? Claire's voice quivered, breaking his focus. He knelt, meeting her gaze. We can't give in to fear. Remember the symbols. They brought us through. His resolve wasn't just for her sake, it was his own lifeline against the encroaching dread. The interior smelled of rot and decay, memories of lives once vibrant now fading into dust. He pushed through the dark, searching for anything that might provide answers. In the far corner, a rusted metal shelf stood, broken and uneven. He rifled through it, revealing nothing but old magazines and a forgotten coffee cup. But then, something caught his eye, a journal, leather-bound and frayed at the edges. He opened it, the pages yellowed and brittle. Words sprawled across the pages in hasty scrawl. They hunt in the dark. They take what you love, beware the shadows. A chill ran through him as the laughter of the shadows echoed once again, laced with cruel anticipation. Claire stepped closer, reading over his shoulder, eyes widening. They know us, Dad. They know we're here. Suddenly, a deafening crash came from outside, the streetlight sputtering wildly, plunging them into darkness. The shadows stirred, like angry creatures drawn to their presence. Run! He shouted, grabbing Claire by the hand and tugging her back toward the exit. They stumbled out of the store, heart racing, adrenaline fueling their speed. But outside, the fog had thickened, swirling around them, becoming a living maze. The shadows poured from the corners, forming shapes that reached for them like spectral claws. "Where do we go?" Claire cried out, terror freezing her voice. "Anywhere but here." He yelled as shadows darted past like whispers of doom, crawling close and closing in. He felt the cold tendrils brush against his skin, each touch sending a jolt of ice through his veins. Just when they thought escape was impossible, the backpack flared again, its light illuminating a narrow alleyway. "Over there!" he shouted, and they dashed for it, cutting through the fog, their breath forming clouds of fear in the night. As they rushed into the alley, they barely had time to catch their breath when a loud, booming voice rang out behind them, vibrating through the air like an earthquake. "Your fate is sealed. You cannot escape." The soldier's heart sank. They weren't just being hunted, the shadows had a master hunting them. "Keep running," he urged, pushing Claire forward, but dread hung like a noose around his neck. What awaited them at the alley's end? Was there truly a way out or just another nightmare waiting to unfold? The alley was narrow, a constricting tunnel between crumbling brick walls that loomed over them like gigantic sentinels. Claire tugged at her father's hand, each step resonating with the palpable fear that nipped at their heels. The faint glow from the backpack buzzed triumphantly, but their shadows shrank in contrast, trembling under the weight of the unseen horror. "Dad, hurry!" she gasped. Her breaths were short, panic lacing her voice. Just ahead, the alley twisted, and a sudden gust of wind sent a chill racing through him. He turned, feeling the shadows undulate, creeping closer, hungry for their warmth. They strained against a rising tide of despair, a sensation that clawed at his mind, the realization that no place was truly safe. At last, they emerged into an open courtyard, once a thriving hub now concealed in gloom, enveloped in dense fog. Patches of light from flickering bulbs above contributed to the air of despair. A run-down fountain, long devoid of water, stood at the center, a silent witness to lives lost. "They're here," she whispered, trembling. Her wide eyes darted around, searching for refuge. "Look!" He pointed at the far side of the courtyard, where a dilapidated structure rose up. "That building. We have to get inside." As they dashed toward it, thunder cracked overhead, drawing the darkness closer. He felt Claire's grip tighten, her knuckles white. The entrance loomed over them, a doorway gaping like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. "Stay behind me," he urged, chanting silently to himself, urging the cool grip of fear to loosen its hold. The moment they stepped inside, the temperature plummeted. The air thickened with the smell of mildew and neglect. Faded posters hung limply on the walls, recalling a time when laughter echoed here. The soldier scanned the interior, dust motes floated lazily in the meager light, and the silence was heavy, broken only by their footsteps ricocheting against the walls. Maybe Claire's voice trailed off, her gaze locking onto something behind a half-collapsed partition. "Stay close," he said again, his voice barely a whisper, the weight of dread pulling them deeper. They crept forward, hearts pounding as they passed crumbling furniture and mangled remnants of despair. Every creak of the floor made them jump, spinning around like startled animals. Then they found it a small room, its door ajar, revealing just enough to glimpse a flicker of movement. His instincts flared to life. "Claire, wait here." Before she could protest, he stepped inside. The light from the backpack revealed shabby mattresses strewn on the ground, a makeshift camp. Ragged articles of clothing hung in the corners like silent witnesses to the chaos. And then he saw it, a figure curled up against the wall, cloaked in shadows. He felt his heart seize. "Who is there?" he called, his voice trembling. It turned, and the face that emerged from the darkness chilled him to the bone. It was the face of a child, but not Claire. This little girl looked frayed, as if she had slipped through cracks of time itself. Her eyes were wide and unblinking, reflecting something deeper than surface fear, loss, terror, recognition. "Help me," she whispered. The voice echoed, pulling at a thread buried deep within him. "Who are you?" he demanded, a hair's breadth from running back to Claire. She doesn't remember, the girl breathed, pointing a trembling finger back toward the dark. They're coming. The walls seemed to tremble, the shadows stretching further into the room. He spun, realizing with dread that Claire's heavy footsteps had stopped behind him. Dad? Claire's voice cracked, her own eyes wide with confusion and fear. That he turned swiftly, hope collapsing as he saw something lurking just beyond the doorway, a shadow with form, dark and malicious. Run! He barked, heart racing, but when he reached for Claire, she wasn't there. The last image he caught was of her stepping closer to the figure in the shadows, entranced, her small silhouette swallowed up in darkness. No! Claire! His voice broke, panic seizing him like a vice. He charged, ready to pull her back from the brink, but darkness surged between them, coiling like a serpent intent on separating them forever. The walls closed in, and the whispers grew louder. Find the way out before it's too late. But he couldn't move, the horror weaving its way into his very being. Would he lose her to the shadows, too? Or could he fight against the encroaching dark and emerge with Claire? An answer was looming just outside his grasp, fading like the light that flickered against the walls. Would he dare follow it? The shadows pulsed, eager to claim him as their own. The darkness wrapped around the soldier tighter, constricting breath and hope alike. Every move he made felt heavy and futile. Claire! He shouted, desperation clawing at his heart. I'm coming for you. He lunged towards the doorway through the thick fog that veiled reality, scrambling over remnants of forgotten lives. In those dark corners, whispers wove a treacherous thread around his will. You'll never see her again, they taunted, but he pushed back, heart racing with primal instinct. She needed him. He would not let her down. Suddenly, the dim light from Claire's backpack flared again, illuminating a path through the chaos. It felt alive, urging him forward. With every desperate step, the shadows recoiled slightly, a flicker of hope intertwining with fear. The figure of the little girl from before flickered in the back of his mind like a distant memory. You have to find the light, she had said. He had to break free from the encroaching darkness. Claire! He crashed through the torn remnants of the partition, down the darkened hallway the little girl had pointed him towards. Shadows darted away as if repelled by a fierce wind. He could feel their resentment, a chilling reminder that they wanted nothing more than to swallow him whole. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum, resonating with every whispered chant of the darkness. Take her. Join us. They screeched, reverberating off the walls like a taunt, but he pushed through, fueled by love and anger. Then he spotted her, a small form against the blackened wall, illuminated by the glowing backpack's light. He slowed as Claire turned, her eyes glassy and distant, a blank stare that sent chills racing down his spine. Claire! The world around him felt heavy, time stretching as he sprinted towards her. Dad! Her voice was a faint whisper, distant, like the echo of a childhood song lost to the wind. The backpack dimmed as if sensing the tension, but just sharp enough to pierce the veil of shadows surrounding her. I can't move. Stay with me, baby. His voice trembled as he reached for her, drawing in a breath. Don't let the darkness take you. Remember us, our home, the backyard, your room. He squeezed her hand gently, anchoring both of them against the chaos. The shadows hissed, swirling closer, sensing the moment of vulnerability. It is too late. A voice shrieked through the darkness, a mass shifting toward him, tendrils erupting like claws eager to snatch. No. He growled, fighting against the tide, wrapping his arms around Claire as he pulled her closer. We are stronger than this. He channeled every ounce of love and protection, holding tight against the shadows coiling toward her. Focus on the light. He shouted desperately. With a surge of strength, he closed his eyes and let the power of the glowing symbols filter through him. The energy coursed like electricity, filling him with resolve. Dad, help me. Claire whimpered again, snapping him back. She was fading, the darkness closed in around them, desperate to reclaim its hold. Just take my hand. He squeezed tighter, and in that moment, the light flared brilliantly, illuminating the entire room. In the brilliant radiance, the shadows shrieked, recoiling in agony. He felt Claire's grip tighten on the backpack, and at that moment, the power surged through him, realigning everything, the flickering symbols and the sacred promise that love always conquers darkness. With renewed strength, his voice boomed against the echoes. "Let her go." The shadows screamed once more, hesitating in the brightness. "Together." He rallied. "With every ounce of strength we have." He felt Claire's energy stir within him, a powerful beacon igniting their bond. "We are not alone." The shadows shook, twisting as if caught in a fierce storm. "No." They screeched, but the light expanded, blasting outward, wrapping around the darkness like chains of fire. With one last rallying cry, they erupted into a tornado of brilliance, illuminating the shadows, exposing their true forms, the lost souls eternally trapped in torment. In that moment of clarity was a weapon they weren't to be feared, but pitted. "Let us go," he shouted, the truth cascading through him. "The light can't be extinguished by darkness." He felt Claire surge within him, sharing that truth, magnifying the energy that sparked between them like an inferno, and then the shadows imploded, dissipating into thin air with an ear-splitting howl. Light flooded everywhere, reclaiming the space, washing over them and the little girl who blinked back at them. "Dad, did we win?" Claire gasped, her eyes wide with wonder as the backpack pulsed victoriously, illuminating her face with warmth. "Yeah, we did." He could hardly believe it, the sweet comfort of reality flooding back. The weight that had held them captive was gone, replaced by the brightness of redemption. The darkness no longer held sway, but in the distance, a flicker of harsh laughter threatened to linger, another shadow determined to rise. "Let us go home, Claire," he whispered, heart swelling with love for her. His daughter's face cracked into a smile, and together they stepped into the dawning light, and as they moved forward, he knew the shadows would always loom, but they would fight together, side by side, forever united, two warriors against a world of uncertainty. Will they stand together against the darkness lurking beyond? Only time will tell. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories we've got coming. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this breathtaking ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Show it now.